Hey friends, Shawn here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The Soulworks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. Soulworks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the Soulworks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today. Welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, a weekly show helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. Today, episode 329, What to Do After Forgiveness. And now, Experience of the Soul.
Hello and welcome to the Experience of the Soul podcast. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host. I'm here today with my stupendous producer.
I like that. I'm going to challenge you to have a different adjective every week.
That's why I'm trying to do a different one. I forgot to plan it today.
Oh yeah, stupendous is good. I'll take that. Awesome. Welcome everybody to Experience of the Soul podcast. This is episode 329. Today's Monday, October 7th. Shawn Kilgore here, of course, with you.
Yes.
Happy and to be here with you. We have a bunch of stuff to get to today. We're going to sort of continue with where we left off after last week's episode. But before we get to it, of course, we want to do a couple of shout outs. First to a new YouTube subscriber, Jesse Wanamaker, which we agreed earlier is a great name. What a great name, Jesse.
Awesome name.
Thank you for joining us on YouTube. We sure do appreciate you subscribing and you engaging with the content. And we just want you to know that our thoughts are with you, and we really appreciate you joining us there.
Yes, thank you so much. And, we're really honored when people subscribe, and it helps us feel connected to know a name instead of just, a number. Like when you get like 500 and something, it's like, but I love the name Jesse Wanamaker. I'm making up a whole story about you, Jesse. So, so feel free to reach out. Let us know where you're listening from, and we're honored that you are following the show. Thank you so much. We, just desire to support your journey. So, thank you.
Yeah. And as I was looking through the downloads of last week's episodes, I noticed that we have had some downloads in Frankfurt am Main over in Germany.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Yes. I was going to say, was ist das? Wie
Nice.
geht's? What's the other? Was ist das is always like, what is this? Wie geht es Ihnen, I guess, is the more appropriate. Anyway, a greeting.
That's cool.
I was thinking Guten Morgen is good morning, right?
And what's Guten Tagen? Is that good?
Good afternoon.
Okay.
And Gute Nacht, right? Gute Nacht is evening, I guess. I know that and Silent Night in German. I'm
same. Stille Nacht. Yep.
Right. But bless you. I actually love studying German. I studied at the community college in high school, and he would go around the room and go, "Was ist das? Das ist Kugelschreiber." you point at the window. Was ist das? Das ist Fenster. And so that's
Nice.
how I learned a lot of the words I know now. Anyway, I know it's probably awful to you Germans, but anyway, bless you and thank you. I love knowing we're, across the pond. That's super cool. And thank you so much for listening, and honored to support your journey, really.
Absolutely. So, friends, we are continuing this week with our forgiveness talk. If you remember last week, we talked about 70 times 7, the power of forgiveness. And today we are going to be continuing that with what to do after forgiveness. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. So welcome officially, friends, to episode 329, What to Do After Forgiveness.
Yes, friends, thank you so much for, the depth of work you're doing on this. And I just felt I wasn't complete because I want to help you with several different ways to forgive. And, sometimes I love doing all different topics, each week. But on occasion, I like to take a topic a little bit deeper, especially one so important, so that you can have more than a few days, to think about it. And I know sometimes you don't hear the show till right before the next one. And I feel like this will support your journey a little more and help you really dial into this new idea of forgiveness as a way of life. It's interesting in my book, 7 Spiritual Laws of Release, one of the laws, it's the 5th chapter, is called the Law of Forgiveness. And it says here, the law of forgiveness is perhaps the most powerful law of the 7 laws. And friends, I know I wrote it, but I can say honestly, not a truer word has been spoken, because forgiveness has the power to free, has the power to heal, and it heals you from the wounds and chains, the bonds of the past. And I think as a people today, the one thing we're trying to do is, heal. And so often, and I've mentioned this before, and I was recently talking with a therapist friend about it too, that so many times now we know what's wrong with us, but we don't move forward to heal it. And so forgiveness can be a very important key for you. So last week we talked in depth about 70 times 7, about the writing of it, about when you go to bed at night, doing that as a mantra. Well, there are a lot of other ways to forgive, or a lot of other practices for forgiveness. And depending on the situation you're working with, one may not be as effective as another. And for these larger issues, and by larger issues, I mean, if you have trauma from your childhood, just saying, 70 times, I forgive this person, it's not going to be enough. Excuse me. By that, I mean, there are other therapeutic issues that need to be worked along with the forgiveness. And often journaling needs to be a part of it. You need to write different aspects of the relationship. For instance, in cases of abuse of any kind, there are often mixed feelings because it can be from a parent or a family member. And in some ways, there had been a lot of trust to this person, and then that trust is betrayed, and, a traumatic event happens. So that not only leaves scarring emotionally and mentally, it does move over into spiritually because of how blocked we can be with these negative feelings. So a process of journaling that can be very, very helpful, I learned from a dear friend named Jane Elizabeth Hart, who runs the Center for Enlightenment. We've mentioned her often on the show, and Shawn is going to put in the show notes her website, which is, I will tell you now, and then just as a reminder that it's there, her website is simply cfenlightenment.org. That's C as in cat, F as in Frank. And I wanted to mention it because what she has on her website is the entire process, and it's called the 7 Steps. And the 7 steps were written by her when her mother died. She could not release her mom into the light. She was just having a hard time forgiving and releasing, her mother. And so what happened is she went into prayer and meditation because she was a spiritual teacher already at this time and just could not work through it. And she got these steps in meditation. And there are 7 steps that she has you journal. And then on the website, there's also a wonderful guided visualization at the bottom of the page that will take you through it. And this is the process I use very often, especially in times of big transition. I'm about to do this process for my old job and the new job I'm taking on. And I love both places. I've been honored to serve both places, but I know that I don't want to carry forward any unnecessary energy into the next role so that I can be as free and clear as possible to serve this new community. Being a minister carries with it a great deal of personal responsibility and self-awareness. And if I'm carrying around these old hurts and pains and, miscommunications, or a lot of times I'll hold on to things that are really not that big, but, they bothered me and I wish I could have done them better. And I find that journaling these things really helps me release them. And then finally, the meditation is the final piece of the release. So I want to give you an example. For instance, if you're doing this journaling process of forgiveness, it might take a few days. It could take a couple of weeks to get through all 7 steps. So the first step, if you were doing this 7-step process, the first step is gratitude and acceptance. And you might say, I'm not grateful for anything with this person. Well, that may be. If that's true, you go on to the next step. But there are questions underneath that initial gratitude and acceptance that help you kind of get your mind thinking, like, was there anything you were grateful for regarding this person or situation? What did you gain? How were they important in your life? And so when I went back and did some of these larger issues, my parents, the person who was very harmful to me as a child, I found these questions to be very helpful, because why the abuse that I suffered was so harmful is that it was somebody I deeply loved and cared for, and it was just such a betrayal of my trust. So it helped me remember that there was some good there, and that, because I thought, how could I let this happen? Well, it's like I let it happen because he acted like he loved me, or I knew my mom loved me, but there were issues there. So so the questions that help you go through the journaling process rather, will take you deeper into your process and bring back memories and awarenesses that are important. And it helps you take a more balanced look at what happened and less of an emotionally charged look, which is very, very helpful when you're dealing with trauma. That's basically what trauma means. It's a complex emotional response, and it's hard to dial through the emotions. You also, as I mentioned last session, last recording, that it may be, if you have a very deep wound that you're trying to journal through, you might want to set up a couple of appointments with me or a spiritual therapist to kind of help support you through this process. Or if you have a minister or rabbi or imam, get with them and have them support this process, because it doesn't matter what religion you are. This process can be used to move you into forgiveness in a really, really powerful way. And it's what I use, like I say, often. And I find it to be healing. I find it to be freeing. I find it to be very insightful, and it helps bring more self-awareness, and that's always a good thing. I have even used the process as my son has developed. He's 17 now, and with each life stage, that brings new situations. And I mean, my son is such a gift to me. It's not like we have a lot of challenges or anything, but what my goal is is to be as supportive and to remove as few of my expectations as possible and allow him to have his journey. So this forgiveness piece is really important so that I'm not projecting what I want, but really supporting what his soul desires are. I hope that makes sense. So the forgiveness, again, it brings clarity and it frees you from some of the egoic personality attachments. So I really cannot say enough about its power. So that is from Jane Hart's work at the Center for Enlightenment. Shawn, I'd love to have you read, before I talk about anything else, I'd love to have you read this beautiful poem. There's a book that Desmond Tutu and his daughter had written. Bishop Tutu has made his passing, but it's a beautiful book on forgiveness. And I'd love to have you read this poem called A Call to Forgive.
A call to forgive. I want to be willing to forgive, but I dare not ask for the will to forgive, in case you give it to me and I am not yet ready. I am not yet ready for my heart to soften. I am not yet ready to be vulnerable again. Not yet ready to see that there is humanity in my tormentor's eyes, or that the one who hurt me may also have cried. I am at the prayer before the prayer of forgiveness. I am not yet ready for the journey. I am not yet interested in the path. Grant me the will to want to forgive. Grant it to me not yet, but soon. Can I even form the words, forgive me? Dare I even look? Do I dare to see the hurt I have caused? I can glimpse all the shattered pieces of that fragile thing, that soul trying to rise on the broken wings of hope, but only out of the corner of my eye. I am afraid of it. And if I am afraid to see, how can I not be afraid to say, forgive me? Is there a place where we can meet? You and me, the place in the middle, the no man's land where we straddle the lines, where you are right and I am right too. Can we meet there? And both of us are wrong and wronged, and look for the place where the path begins, the path that ends when we forgive. It's beautiful.
Thank you, Shawn. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, what you all don't know about that poem and when that was written, they had two family that poem is written from such a pure place. What I started to say is what you don't know is that was written after two family members had been murdered. And he and his daughter had come home to it, to two family members murdered in their home while they were out at the market for the day. And that kind of depth and wisdom and belief in the sacred is profound to me. Mahatma Gandhi says, the weak can never forgive. He says, forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. So this is inspiring to me to forgive. Yeah. When I look at, Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi, Bishop Desmond Tutu and his daughter as well. Her name is spelled M-P-H-O, so it's kind of hard to pronounce, Mpo. But I wanted to try to pronounce it properly. When you see the profound joy that they're able to access, I know that's only possible by these deep, deep spiritual practices. That's all. When you've been through that kind of pain and trauma. And interestingly, Jane Elizabeth, who wrote the 7 Steps I mentioned earlier, her daughter was also murdered, and she was able somehow, after some time, to forgive her daughter's murderer. And she said that daughter was her greatest gift. And this is the kind of expansive love that a God has for us. And the reason I wanted to talk more deeply about it is I want you to really understand, to really connect with how profound, how life-changing, even transformative. These words don't begin to describe how the energy shifts when you are forgiving on these deep, deep levels. That said, because it is such a tremendous shift, it's why I called the show today, What to Do After Forgiveness, or something like that, I think is the title. What to Do After Forgiveness. Because when you go through this big of a release for a while, sometimes it's a few days, sometimes it's a week, things can feel a little unsteady because you're fundamentally changing the way you think about the world. When you've walked through the world as a victim and suddenly you are walking through the world as free, this is a very, very different way of thinking. It's a different way of living. It's a different way of knowing your own worth, your own strength, your own, spiritual power, your ability to choose. I mean, it fundamentally changes you. These deeper, these deeper relationships, when they are forgiven and these hurts are released. And so the first thing I want you to think about, if you do this deeper work, is to be gentle with yourself. If you were taking notes, I would say number 1, be gentle with yourself. You also may want to do a little cleansing of your home. You might want to think about if there's any energy that needs to be released. That's old energy that's connecting to that. But I would say not right away. First, be gentle with yourself. Like, honor this new energy settling in. And you might have to take a nap. You might have to go for a walk in the woods, or do an Epsom salt bath, or do an extra long meditation, or go to bed early. You're going to have to allow your body and your mind, time to shift, because this soul awareness, it comes through the soul, and it takes a while for the mind and the body and this, new awareness to kind of move in and through in a new way. So 1 is be gentle with yourself. And number 2, do not make any big decisions. Do not end a marriage. Do not, quit your job. Like, let everything settle. Now, what's interesting is, after the forgiveness, you're going to have this such profound clarity. And if you are getting guidance about, movements forward or whatever, write all that down, but do not pass go until you've given yourself some time to process. So don't make any big moves. Don't make any big moves. So be gentle with yourself and don't make any big moves. Let everything settle. But again, I want to encourage you, if something does come in, write it down. Yeah, like, for instance, there was somebody, I wanted to give you a couple of examples so you knew what I mean, so you knew what I meant. And I was working with somebody some time ago, and they had done this a big release, and it was a release of a romantic relationship, and they had been, on the rocks for quite some time. The relationship, it really just was not working. And my suggestion was to do this forgiveness piece. I said, because if there is something salvageable there, this will make it clear. And if there's nothing salvageable there, then this will make it clear. In other words, she couldn't find a clear point, and I felt that this forgiveness process was going to really support that clarity. So after this process of release, she sat down. I mean, she was crying. And then she sat down and wrote, 25 things she wanted in a partner. And she realized the person she was with was hardly any of those things. That she knew what she fundamentally needed was not there, but she didn't make a big quick decision. She handled it beautifully, responsibly, moving forward, honoring everybody in the process, not, well, I just released you into the light and I'm gone, because that would not be honoring of the other person. So, even if you get this tremendous clarity, you still have to walk through the world as a responsible human. And it is important to be kind, to be measured in our approach, and not just, we don't want to throw people away, but, there's certainly times where it is appropriate to leave a relationship if it's really not serving your needs and you're at odds all the time. That's not for your soul's highest good, clearly. So just think about that. So in that case, like I say, there was a lot of clarity afterwards. She wrote down all these things, but she still didn't move forward. So be gentle with yourself. Do not make any big decisions. And then finally, do things that bring you joy. So I want to encourage you to do things that are grounding, that are very joy-filled, and that are easy emotionally. I don't want you going back into some big drama after all this big work. I also want to make sure that if you're going to do this level of work, you have some kind of support, either a trusted friend or prayer partner who understands this kind of thing, a counselor, a minister, somebody that you can speak to in case you hit something. Because often what will happen when you do one of these really deep releases, one thing that can happen is a lot of other stuff releases with it, and you go, I don't even know who I am anymore. Who am I? And the person can kind of, the guide or the counselor can kind of help walk you through it. Sometimes, you'll go through this really big release and have a whole new clarity. So, but again, you don't want to make any quick moves. You want to be gentle with yourself. You want to do things that bring you joy, and you don't want to do anything too quickly, because you still have to walk through life as a responsible human being and with love for everyone involved. So forgiveness is a key that unlocks the door to soul and emotional freedom, no doubt. And what I notice is that all of the masters that I've studied speak extensively about forgiveness. In the Bible, the word forgiveness is in there over 200 times. There are over 200 stories of forgiveness in the Bible. So I want you to really consider, is this a practice for me to begin to put in my life? And that when you do, and when you do the deeper work, to honor yourself in your process by being kind to yourself, by being gentle with yourself, taking it easy, getting support, making sure you have a friend who understands spiritual things, not a family member who understands no spiritual things, but somebody who can understand, who can support, who you can call and say, please hold me in prayer as I do this work. Please, can I call you after I do this work if I need? I just really want you to get this support for this because of how deep the shifts can be. So friends, I want to encourage you to reach out to me if you need help and support. As Shawn is fond of saying, you can text us. It's in the show notes, not in YouTube, but on every other platform like Spotify and iTunes, Amazon, all those places you get our show. If you want to send a text that you're doing the work and you just want me to pray for you, I will be happy to pray for you. And it helps me to know when you're doing this deeper work that it's impacting your journey and that you want more of these kind of shows as well. So just know we're with you. We're supporting you. Friends, I'm honored really to bring you messages like this because forgiveness has been one of the greatest gifts in my life. It doesn't cost anything, and it is the freest. It's one of the most freeing spiritual practice I know. Forgive, 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 my friends. And afterwards, honor yourself, honor your process, take your time, and really, really love yourself as you do this deeper work. And if you're not sure who to forgive in the process, start with yourself. And you'll be amazed at the freedom you feel. So friends, thank you for joining us. Again, Jesse Wanamaker, thank you. Our friends in Frankfurt, thank you. And we honor you. We honor your journey. And we just see the best for you. We see you moving into your soul freedom. We see you moving into life with ease and grace. Not everything being hard and arduous and that you're, trudging through the muck, but that life, you're rising above. Things are flowing. Your life is full of light and love and joy and peace. This is our prayer for you. So thanks again for joining us, dear friend. We honor you. And thank you for all your financial support that makes the show possible. So we look forward to seeing you next week, and blessings on the journey, dear friend.
We're going to end with a reading of a Buddhist prayer of forgiveness. If I have harmed anyone in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through my own confusions, I ask their forgiveness. If anyone has harmed me in any way, either knowingly or unknowingly, through their own confusions, I forgive them. And if there is a situation I am not yet ready to forgive, I forgive myself for that. For all the ways that I harm myself, negate, doubt, belittle myself, judge or be unkind to myself, through my own confusions, I forgive myself.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Experience of the Soul podcast with Cynthia Alice Anderson, helping you grow, prosper, and evolve. This podcast is made possible because of listeners and viewers just like you. If you would like to support the podcast with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head on over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Experience of the Soul podcast is copyright 2024 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved, and is produced by Shawn Kilgore. A production of the Soulworks Group, Incorporated.